On a freezing Christmas Eve night, when the Wyoming wind howled like a wounded animal across the empty plains, widowed rancher Eli Ward rode back from town with his coat pulled tight and his thoughts heavier than the snow-soaked clouds above him. 2 years had passed since his wife Clara died, leaving him to raise their quiet 8-year-old boy, Jonah, who barely spoke anymore except in whispers to the memory of his mother. The ranch had been falling apart, fences broken, cattle thinning, pantry nearly empty, and Eli had stopped hoping for miracles. But that night, when he reached the long wooden porch of his ranch house, he saw a figure curled near the steps, shivering under a threadbare shawl with snow caught in her dark hair. She tried to stand when she heard the horse, but her legs buckled, and Eli jumped off his saddle, hands lifted cautiously. "Ma'am, you all right?" he asked, unsure if she was hurt, lost, or trouble. She lifted her face slowly, eyes tired, cheeks red from cold, voice barely a whisper. "I ain't got nowhere to go, sir, but I can cook." Those 5 trembling words hit him harder than the wind. Eli saw something in her that wasn't desperation, it was dignity fighting to stay alive. She explained her name was Marin Hayes, a girl from the mining settlements, orphaned young and worked to the bone in kitchens, wandering for days after being chased out by a cruel foreman's son who tried to claim her. Jonah peeked from behind the door, his small voice floating into the cold night. "Pa, she's freezing. Please help her." And that tiny plea cracked the hard shell around Eli's heart. He brought Marin in, set her near the hearth, gave her Jonah's extra blanket, and watched as color slowly returned to her face. She offered to leave as soon as she warmed up, but Eli's home, silent for months, felt alive for the first time. "You said you can cook?" he asked quietly, unsure why he suddenly cared so much. She nodded, hands trembling. In minutes, the kitchen filled with the rich smell of biscuits, honey butter sizzling, and a stew so comforting it almost felt like Clara had walked through the door again. Jonah smiled, a rare, precious thing. Eli felt something shift inside him. Over the next days, Marin moved with gentle purpose, cleaning the dusty kitchen, repairing old recipes she found in Clara's forgotten drawers, humming softly while stirring pots. Jonah began speaking more, following her around like a shy shadow. Eli told himself she was only staying until Christmas ended, just until the snow passed. But each time she smiled shyly at him, each time she reached to fix his collar or warmed his hands with hers over the stove flame, he wondered if fate had placed her on his porch with intent. Whispers spread through town, some cruel, some curious, about a young woman staying with a widower. Eli didn't care. But trouble from Marin's past was closing in. The foreman's son, Wade Riker, arrived in town searching for the runaway girl who embarrassed him, claiming she stole from him. Locals saw him as a brute drunk on power. On Christmas Eve morning, Eli found Marin outside feeding the horses, her shoulders tight, her eyes full of fear. "If he finds me, he'll take me," she said. Eli stepped closer, voice low but fierce. "Not while you're under my roof." Snow began to fall again, thick and silent, and for the first time since Clara's death, Eli felt something stirring again, hope, warmth, maybe even love. But danger was coming fast, and Christmas night would test every bond forming in that fragile ranch house. As the wind hammered against the windows, Eli realized the girl who said she ain't got nowhere to go had already carved a place in their lives, and maybe in his grieving heart. And little did he know, she had a hidden gift that would change the fate of his ranch forever. If you're enjoying this emotional Christmas journey, don't forget to subscribe, there's so much more warmth, suspense, and heart ahead. Christmas night settled over the valley like a heavy blanket, muffling sound and sharpening fear. Eli locked the doors, checked the rifle by the window, and told Marin not to worry, but she could see the tension in the clench of his jaw, in the way he paced like a man preparing to defend everything he had left. Jonah clung to Marin's skirt, whispering, "Don't leave us. You belong here." Her heart squeezed at the boy's trust. She wasn't used to being wanted, let alone needed. After dinner, as she stirred a simmering pot of her special rosemary broth, Marin revealed the truth she'd carried in silence. She wasn't just a cook, she was a masterful one, trained by a traveling rail line chef who once took her in like a daughter. She knew flavors that could stretch cheap ingredients into feasts, meals that could keep ranch hands strong, cattlemen loyal, and a ranch running even through the leanest winters. "Your land can thrive again," she told Eli softly. "Your pantry isn't the end, it's a beginning. I can turn it around for you." Eli stared at her, stunned. That revelation lit a spark of possibility inside him, something he hadn't dared feel since Clara. But before he could answer, hooves thundered up the hill. Wade Riker and 3 men dismounted, stomping to the porch, fists pounding the door. "Bring out the girl," Wade roared. Jonah flinched. Marin froze. Eli stepped outside into the blizzard's teeth, shotgun in hand. "She stays," he said. Wade laughed. "You planning to marry her, widower? Or just keeping her warm for Christmas?" Eli's fury burned hot enough to melt the snow on his hat brim. "She's under my protection," he said steadily. Wade lunged, and the porch exploded into chaos, fists, shouting, boots sliding across ice. Eli, despite being outnumbered, fought with the strength of a man defending his family. Jonah cried out for help, and Marin suddenly shoved open the door, swinging a cast-iron skillet with a crack that dropped one of Wade's men to the ground. Snow swirled around them like a furious storm. Wade grabbed Marin's wrist, snarling that she belonged to him, but Eli threw himself forward, tackling the brute into the snow until both men were breathless and bruised. Finally, local neighbors, drawn by the commotion, arrived armed, supporting Eli. Wade, humiliated, spat a threat but retreated, knowing the whole valley now stood with the widowed rancher and the brave young woman he tried to steal. When the last of the hoofbeats faded, Marin fell into Eli's arms, trembling as relief washed through her. Jonah hugged her waist, crying softly. And in that frozen moment, something changed forever. Inside, by the crackling fire, Eli traced the bruise on Marin's wrist with gentle fingers. "You're safe now. As long as I'm breathing, no one touches you," he said, voice thick. She lifted her eyes, tears glimmering. Does that mean I can stay?" Eli cupped her cheek. "I thought you already had." Jonah tugged Eli's sleeve. "Pa, can she be part of our family now?" Eli didn't hesitate. "If she wants to." Marin's answer came not in words but in the way she reached up, hands trembling, and kissed the men who had defended her right to exist, right to dream, right to belong. Christmas morning dawned golden and soft. Marin prepared a breakfast feast unlike anything the ranch had seen in years: warm brioche, spiced apple compote, savory herb eggs, and as sunlight poured through the frosted windows, Eli realized her gift wasn't only cooking, she brought life back into a home that had forgotten the taste of joy. Word spread fast: Eli Ward had hired a miracle cook. Ranch hands returned, neighbors offered work trades, and soon the ranch bustled with renewed hope, all centered around the woman who whispered, "I ain't got nowhere to go, sir, but I can cook." And now she had a home forever. As snow melted in the valley and the ranch rose stronger than ever, Jonah laughed again, Eli loved again, and Marin finally belonged. *4 more powerful emotional stories like this: heart, danger, love, and warmth. Make sure to subscribe and support the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive and growing. *.